Hey crew, Coach Josh with GarageGangGyms.com, and today we're rolling up our sleeves and we're going to do some cleaning and some general maintenance on our barbells. So we're going to need a few shop towels. If you want to get real fancy, you can use some microfiber towels here. You can also just use some paper towels. That works just fine. We have two different brushes. Both are nylon bristled. One to actually clean the bar, one to put the oil on. We're going to be using 3-in-1 oil today in order to put the oil on, and then just your basic dish soap and a bucket. And let's get cleaning. All right, guys, so starting with cleaning. I like to clean my bars at least 2, maybe 3 times in a year, every few months, especially in the warmer seasons, because as everybody's using it, their hands get grimy. As they get sweatier, it gets a lot worse. So again, I've just got a little bit of dish soap in some warm water in here, and I'm just going to go to town on this thing. Now, if you notice that you have chalk in your bar, you want to take care of that first. So I've already taken care of the chalk, but you can get in there really aggressively, get that chalk out, and then we can actually add this water to it. Now, if you're using a bare steel bar, so this is a zinc coated bar, bare steel, you may want to skip actually using water and skip using the soap and just skip right to the oil stage. So if you need to skip ahead, this video is actually timestamped for you. Feel free, skip right ahead, no big deal. Okay, so I'm just gonna get it really gross. And what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get as much of the grime off of this bar as I can. So normally it's just where our hands are going. And you can see, if we zoom in, it's getting pretty gross already. And you're not gonna get it all, and that's not the point. The point is to get as much of this crap off as you can. Now I'm using a nylon brush because again, this is a zinc coating on this bar. If you have a stainless steel bar, check with your manufacturer. You might be able to use a brass or even a stainless steel bristled brush. But again, check with the manufacturer, because if you assume you have the highest quality stainless steel and then you use a stainless steel brush on it, you might scratch the hell out of your bar. So if you have a brush or a nylon bristled brush in your kitchen, you can certainly grab that thing out. I just like using a smaller one because it helps me just really get in and get after this thing. So again, what we're going to do is we're cleaning it, then we're going to let it dry for a while before we actually put the oil on. Because even though the oil does a really good job of getting the water away, right? It repels water. We still don't want to apply it when it's wet. So I'm just doing my best. This is why the shop towels are down. I don't want to make too much of a mess. And then the nice thing about these shop towels is when you have an extra one, you can just get one really gross, and then you can take care of the sleeves a little bit. So I'm actually cleaning this bar, not so that we can use it again, but we just upgraded the bar at the gym. And I'm actually selling this bar. So I just want to get it nice and clean so that the next owner doesn't have to do this. Because chances are the next owner isn't going to know what they're doing with the bar. I've sold a few barbells in the past. And when you tell them the specs, they're already like deer in the headlights. They have no idea what you're talking about, let alone, oh, by the way, you want to make sure you clean it this way, that way, whatever. So I'm just getting it all the grime off that I can. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but that's not the point. The point is just to get some of that buildup. Because again, we can't use a very aggressive brush on this. If this were my stainless bar or even my hard chrome bar, I would be using a more aggressive bristled brush, but that's just one of the drawbacks of going with a zinc. So I only got one side of this wet. That way I can wipe the bar off with the other side. So I'm just spinning it. And again, just trying to get it generally dry. And then we'll let it sit for a while before I actually come back and oil it. So I actually oil my bars once a month, maybe once every 6 weeks. And what I'll do is right after a workout, usually it's if I'm going into a taper phase or maybe a pivot phase where I know I'm going to have a lighter week, where I don't mind there being oil on the bar, because I like to leave the oil on after I've used it Some people, what they'll do is they'll chalk their bar right after putting oil on it, but that kind of defeats the purpose of trying to repel water with that oil. You're just simply putting that chalk where all it's doing is attracting that water. So what I'll do is, again, on a deload phase or even a pivot phase when I'm lifting lighter, I'll oil it that Saturday after my workout. It'll somewhat dry over the weekend. It's never really dry because it's oiled. Then that first session back, then I'll chalk it, I'll use it, I'll make sure I really get the chalk out. But for about a week, you're gonna have some oil on your hands. And it's just something that you need to be aware of if you are oiling it, but I highly recommend you do. You don't necessarily want a bunch of rust on your hands because the bar will be fine even with rust. But imagine if you don't wash your hands well enough, you cook some food right after that. Now you're putting that rust in your food, you're touching your kids. I have a newborn baby at home. Last thing I want to do is touch my kid with rust or even oil. So it's really important that you take care of that. Now, if you do get oil on your hands, which you probably will when we're actually maintaining this bar, I use a pumice stone. I even use some, it's orange, I think is the name of it. It's a pumice soap. And I do it once or twice. My hands get kind of dry, but I make sure that I try to get as much of that crap out of my hands as I can. So again, we brushed it, we toweled it off a little bit. We're gonna let this dry, and then we'll come back and talk about oiling this thing. All right, so oiling the bar. What we wanna do is we're gonna draw a nice line of oil, about a foot at a time, I would say. Then we're gonna use our other nylon bristle brush, not the one that we clean the bar with. We're gonna have a designated one that just gets the oil. And then what we're gonna do is really just slop it on there. And our goal is to put a thin layer everywhere. We're gonna get inside and around the shaft and where it meets the sleeves. And on the sleeves themselves, I'm gonna be using my towel here, and I'm gonna put a little on the towel and just kind of rub it around. If you guys wanna use paper towel, that works perfectly fine. And when I transport this bar, I'm just gonna use paper towels as well so I don't get it all over my hands. So just a little goes a long way. I'm just gonna kind of squirt a little on there. Now at first, your brush is gonna be thirsty. It's gonna take up a lot of this oil. But if we spin the bar as we go, and again, I'm not trying to clean the bar with this oil per se. It is gonna help pick some of it up, some of the grime and things like that, but what I'm trying to do is preserve this bar. This will also help if your finish is starting to come off, like it is on this bar. It's starting to get cloudy. This is gonna help make sure that that finish stays nice for another 20 years, so long as you oil it from time to time. So I'm gonna get even the smooth spots. Now where it's smooth, I'll go back with my towel later and make sure I polish that up, because again, this is being sold. I want the people who buy this bar to really like the shine of the bar. I want to do the maintenance for them because I know the people that are buying this bar, and they can't say I don't care. So again, I'm just trying to do my best to get this oil everywhere I possibly can. I'm gonna get it around. Again, I'll use a towel more around the sleeves. And maintenance doesn't take very long. It's not very complicated. And that's why I'm doing this video, is I want you guys to see it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be an expert, you don't have to be a mechanic to know how to oil up your bar. And to make it seem, and I want you guys to realize that if you want to have a home gym, yeah, you do have to do a little bit of maintenance, but if you buy higher quality stuff, like this bar here is plenty high quality, you don't have to do maintenance all the time on it, especially when it comes to your cardio equipment, your dumbbells, your weights. If you buy quality, it's less maintenance overall. But you buy cheap, you get cheap, and you can buy more equipment. So, you know, you gotta kind of play that by ear. Yeah, put a little more oil on this thing. Again, it goes very quickly. Very quick. Just pound it in there. And again, we're not gonna get it all. This bar is used. This was the gym's bar for the last 8 or 9 months. So dozens of hands have been on this bar. So again, I'm just gonna put a little goop on the towel itself, and then I'm actually gonna grab another paper towel. I'm just gonna grab the bar with the paper towel, and I'm just gonna rub that oil on. I need more than that. The cool thing is, if you've never cleaned your bar before and it's looking a little dirty, once you clean it, you know, it looks 90% new, which is kind of cool. It's not gonna ever look perfectly new, but you also don't want a perfectly new barbell, right? You want it to have a little use, just like when you get brand new plates or something like that, you gotta put them through the ringer a little bit, right? Can't always be nice all the time. So again, I'm really trying to get it right in that seam where the sleeve meets the shaft, trying to get these welds okay, the end cap, then we'll switch to the other side. There you go. Just gonna put some on the bar itself, because why not? And then again, I'm just spinning it. Now this bar has grooves to it, and those grooves really want that oil, right? So this bar, again, was a $300 bar when I got it. So that bar isn't milled like a $700 bar would be. So there's going to be what we call as a zipper. That sound that you're hearing, if the mic actually picks that up, because the ridges are actually just a little bit raised. So the last thing we got to do is put it away. I highly recommend with any of your bars, even ones with just bushings like this, that you guys store them horizontally. If you're storing these things vertically, all of the lubricant inside of the sleeves is going to shift to one side, and that could cause seizing up when you actually need to do presses, cleans, whatever kind of bar you're using, whatever you're using it for. So I'm actually going to just grab onto it like you see with my paper towels. I'll catch you guys later. This is Coach Josh with Garage Gang Gyms. That's how you guys clean and maintain a bar. See you guys next time.